5:30 on Thursday, March 13th, 2025. I'm going to call the meeting of the Public Safety to order. Trustee Olson?
Here.
Trustee Porter?
Here.
And McGurran, Chair McGurran is here. And the next item is comments from the floor. So this is a time for residents from the village, including property owners and business owners, to make the committee aware of issues or opportunities, either on or not on tonight's agenda. And anyone who's here, I see we have quite a few people, please make sure that you've signed in so we get the correct spelling of your name for our minutes. And looks like you're ready to roll. You want to come up here to the podium, whoever wants to speak. And we are on the River Channel tonight, so you'll be recorded on that. Go ahead. Ready to roll.
My TV debut.
Yeah, please give your name and the spelling of your last name and your address.
My name is Ricky Magallanes. The last name is Magallanes at 1006 St. Croix Street North. The main topic I wanted to kind of cover was this ordinance that's been proposed about chickens and animals and wildlife and such, that being restrictive and preventing roosters. To my knowledge at this point, and just to let everyone know, I do have a records poll based on the calls that the game warden has had to reply to, the communication emails about the ordinance and such. So I have kind of reviewed some of the information that's gone back and forth, and I did identify that the attorney did identify that as a village, we're a municipality. We are not under the guidelines of St. Croix County. So we have our own rules and jurisdictions here. So without any restrictions, roosters are actually something that are able to be in our neighborhoods. So people are able to own roosters. Putting limitations on things like that right now, I feel, is a very negative thing because we're not getting reports. Yeah, we get a couple of people that make biased calls because they hear loud noises, but the garbage truck that comes to my house every day, if I called and complained about that, waking me up in the middle of the night, or anyone that works a night shift, hearing the kids play outside, you're going to have noises. You're living in a neighborhood, and people have neighbors. I understand that sometimes it can be considered a nuisance. I hear more nuisance from the dogs, and even the game warden's calls are 99% dogs on the loose or correlations with dogs. Have nothing to do with wild game animals or chickens or roosters. At this point in our lives, people need to be able to be self-sufficient, be able to make their own produce, be able to have their own eggs. I mean, I don't see a reason why there needs to be a blanket policy or ordinance put into place because of one complaint instead of addressing things individually as the game warden or as the law enforcement should have to. There should not be an ordinance whatsoever in Hudson, in the village of North Hudson. It's been working. Deal with the complaints as you get them. There is no need to restrict anything. We came here to live here for a reason, and having no ordinance allows us to be able to produce the food that we want to produce and be self-sufficient without having to go to the store and pay outrageous prices. Maybe support some of our neighbors. I don't dictate what my neighbors grow to, provide themselves with fruit or with vegetables or their herb garden or whatever the case may be. So why should I be restricted in being able to have chickens or roosters to be able to breed my own chickens so that I don't have to go and buy chicks every time there's a new season about? I can take care and manage myself. People that are in the business of raising chickens or having other game or cows or the little Highland cows or goats or whatever the case may be, most of those people are very responsible. They know how to deal with sanitation. They're providing them in a very healthy, clean condition. And anything that is outside of that, that is what the responsibility of the village should be, to identify what those issues are and directly deal with those contacts. I shouldn't be making a blanket policy or ordinance to give everybody a mandate that's unnecessary when it can be dealt with on a one-to-one situation. Again, none of the complaints that the game warden has proposed, or at least has a record of, has anything to do with chickens, roosters, or goats. There's been one raccoon, one rabbit, the rest are all dogs. So at no point does there need for an ordinance to control who has chickens and roosters or who has goats for that matter. We are the village of North Hudson. We are not mandated, and the municipality is controlled by our own governing body. We don't need this ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak this evening? Anyone else want to speak this evening? We're going to close public comment. Hi.
My name is Elise Molter. I reside at 1006 St. Christ Street North as well. I just want to say we've wasted a lot of time and tax dollar money. This has been over a year of talking about this. People are coming out of their busy days and lives to come speak because this is so important. If those 3 calls, I was here that day when the warden was speaking, he said he got 3 calls. Under my impression was because the people thought you weren't allowed to have livestock animals in the village. And once they found out that that wasn't the case, then that's when it got dropped. So now this got brought up because the warden had 3 calls, doesn't want to deal with it. This is all over 3 calls. This is ridiculous. And those aren't even documented. I put in a public records request and I got all the emails and all the complaints that he registered and everything. This is ridiculous. It's a waste of time. We don't need another licensed animal in this village either. So then we're gonna go around and charge people for having chickens. 2, where did the 10 number come from? When you like get chickens or anything, most of the time you order them in batches and it's like 25 and whatever. And when you're ordering meat chickens, you're gonna probably order 50. They're only gonna be there for a couple weeks. You're gonna butcher them. Done. So this 10 number, there's people even having eggs. You're gonna have 15, 20, 25 chickens. That's just normal. I don't understand why there's a limit. We don't limit other animals, except for dogs. There's a limit of like 3. And after that, I believe you have to apply for a kennel license or something, but I don't know. But someone could have a million other animals, like cats or anything. There's no limit. Why are we so focused on the chicken? And why are we so focused on these animal things? I pulled all the records requests for 2024 and current. There was probably all the records that he had, probably 23. He had 23 calls that he had to come to our village to deal with. And again, none were chickens. So this animal warden thing is getting blown way out of proportion. It's a very intense overstep. We are a village for a reason, so we can be independent. We don't need more tax dollar monies going to the village because we want to license chickens and all this other stuff. 2, there's a thing on there about if you want chickens, you have to have a fenced-in yard. We have to pay for a permit in North Hudson to get a fenced-in yard. That's a lot of money. You got to pay to put a fence in or build it yourself or whatever. That's a lot of extra money. We don't require fences for dogs. We don't require fences for cats. We don't require fences for any. Why all of a sudden a chicken you require a fence? They can be in their pens. There's tractors now. You can move them around your yard and they're in a pen the whole time. The only rule that there should be is no animals at large. And guess what? We already have that rule. And 2, the rooster thing, because they're loud or some people are scared of rooster, some people are scared of dogs. And roosters do not crow as much as a barking dog when people walk by or whatever. Dogs and kids and people in the village are going to make noise. If it's obscene or obnoxious, that gets addressed. If a rooster's being obscene and obnoxious, focus on that rooster. Don't blanket the roosters. We need to be able to reproduce them, be self-sufficient, and stop taxing us, wasting our tax dollars on this, wasting all of our time right now. Please drop this. I know we put a lot of time into it, but sometimes you got to admit, hey, we went way overboard. We just need to walk away from this and keep our village. The village of North Hudson. The quote is, don't Hudson our North Hudson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak this evening?
Hey there, I'm Cisco. I didn't know we were going to be talking today, but
Can you give your address?
316 Summer Street, North.
Thank you.
And so, to my understanding, there's not been too many complaints. And I think we're wasting a lot of people's time. Nobody's getting rich off this. Nobody's doing anything crazy. So, I had a rooster. My neighbor didn't like it. I got rid of it. I hope that's how things are dealt with here. If that's not how it's dealt with, it probably is already Hudson anyways. And that game warden guy or the animal warden or whatever, if any of you guys' pets get picked up by him, it's expensive. He drives them in a hot van across the county. It's a terrible experience. I wouldn't recommend it. So anything he's saying, I wouldn't really take stock in it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak this evening? Yes.
Hi, my name is Yuri. I reside at 539 Lemon Street. I just want to add a couple more words as an example to support the common thought most of us shared last time we got here together as far as the supply right now for chicks. My wife and I went to a fleet farm the other day just to see what they have available for common folk to walk in and grab, a batch of chicks for this spring. Well, they got none. Their deliveries come in, I believe, on Wednesday mornings. By Wednesday midday, it's all gone. They got empty bins there for the rest of the week until next Wednesday, if they will be coming, and they're not sure about that because, as you all probably all know by now, one of the biggest suppliers' hatcheries were shut down due to different reasons. Some of them had odd fires happening, others were shut down due to bird flu. So there's all kinds of concerns going on right now, and as far as that all impedes supply for us to reproduce our own stock, meaning that if you can't hatch your own eggs, if you don't have roosters, well, you're not going to get your new flock replenished. And chicken lifespan on average, if you're planning on fulfilling their life, you're looking at 4 or 5 years. And then if you like to butcher them in the end, it's probably sooner than that, because after that point mark, their fertility falls off the chart. They don't produce as many eggs, so it kind of doesn't make sense to keep them around anymore. With the meat birds, as it was pointed out previously, their lifespan even shorter. Their purpose is you keep them for a few months once they get their full gains, and you process them at that point. In either case, it seems that only couple, well, I probably shouldn't say couple. I don't know how many people do voice their opinion as far as being displeased with the presence of birds in our community. That is the source for entire debacle in this conversation to happen. It is important to have conversations and discuss things, but at the same time, it feels like we're blowing it out of proportion, where most of us, okay, with living this kind of down-to-earth lifestyle, we would take care of our own families, where we grow our own food, where we teach our kids how to do the same thing, because that's something maybe some of us were raised with and witnessed with our parents. So as I said before, it is important to me, it's important to my family, it's important to my neighbors, and I'm just here to voice that opinion and say, hey, I don't think there is room for these changes or the need, essentially, because the problem, it doesn't seem that it exists to the level and extent that some individuals might portray it to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, we're going to make one more call for public comment. Seeing no one, we're going to close public comment. Thank you all. And next item is the approval of the minutes from February 13th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the minutes from February 13th, 2025.
And a second?
Second.
So I'm sorry, we need to say who did the first. So
Barb Olson made a motion to approve the minutes.
And Trustee Porter seconded it. So I actually have 2 corrections to the minutes. And the first one is under the fire chief's report. And I would request that we would, on the last paragraph on the 4th line, cross out paid, and after staffing, add study, so that I requested that Chief Spielman, I asked how the staffing study would be funded. So that I'm proposing that correction. And then the second correction would be under the animal ordinance section, under the last sentence, cross out with and add when Olson, and add is in attendance. So to clarify that McGurn wants more discussion when Olson is in attendance from the last meeting. Any objections to those changes?
No.
Nope.
Right. So Chief, are we okay to just vote on that now?
Yeah, the actual motion will just signify that with those changes.
Okay. Yep. So the motion is to approve the minutes with the changes that were just proposed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition. We're going to move to the next item, police chief's report.
We're a little shorter than the last time, so the only item I have is some old business just related to parking citations. Again, it's with that change with the abolition of the municipal court and just the process of the police department now managing parking citations. We're going to look at beginning to use our current track software, which is no additional cost. We already use it for writing traffic and non-traffic citations already. We're going to start utilizing that. They're basically, prior to this, we were utilizing a non-traffic citation, an NTC, to issue parking citations, which would then be routed through the courts. There is a box on the NTC form that you can click for parking citation, yes or no. If you click yes, it limits the amount of information that you need to put in that citation, and then it gets routed to the police department. So we will just be transitioning to that manner of issuing parking citations. We'll also be posting instructions on ways to pay and how to contest those citations on our website, and those will also be listed on the defendant's copy of the parking citation itself that gets placed onto a vehicle. And then we're going to be utilizing the allpaid.com for payments, which is already the clerk of court, municipal court, already has an account. She's contacting them to basically let them know that at a certain date and time, that account will just be transitioned to the police department. So again, no additional costs related to that. And people can make payments directly at the police department in person with cash, credit card, money order, or check, or using that online option of the allpaid.com. So wanted to bring the committee's attention to that change. Any questions on parking citations? All right. And then with the monthly reports, I also included our incident breakdown. Nothing out of the ordinary on that. We're up to 88 cases that have been assigned out as of March 10th. And then the last sheet that we provide every month is the written and verbal warning citations by officer. And again, things are looking pretty typical for the early months of January and February. Obviously, things will pick up and be a little bit more busy once the weather, and as of today, made a couple of traffic stops today. So as the weather gets nicer and people are out moving about, we'll make sure that we continue that process. And that ends the chief's report.
Question, Chief?
Yeah.
The animal complaints listed on your report, are those in addition to what we receive from the animal warden?
Yes.
Okay.
The animal warden may be contacted during ours if we have an animal that's at large that we have captured and we need it to be taken to the impound. But it also might just be an animal at large that we were able to return to the owner. At that point, the animal warden would not have been contacted.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Thank you, Chief. Fire Chief, Ms. Gilman, report.
Been pleasantly uneventful in the village the first couple months of the year. Attached was the monthly fire report, and through the end of February, there's only been one incident in the village, fire department related. So it's been good so far. So
And last month was none, right?
correct. There was no calls in February. Yep,
I'd say that is good news for us.
it is very good. Yeah.
Any questions for the chief?
I do not.
All right, we're going to move on to the next item. Fireworks paraphernalia license application, discussion and possible action. Does anyone have a motion to make in regards to this? We need a motion to approve the license, and then
For
we
the
can start
A1,
the
isn't it?
discussion. Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
exit one.
I move to approve the application for the fireworks for exit A1. I don't see the, there it is. Move to approve the application for fireworks paraphernalia license, temporary use permit for Carolyn Wally with the following inclusions. No smoking signs must be displayed, fire extinguishers available, no fireworks sold to persons under 18 years of age, operation not to exceed 180 days per calendar year.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
So the motion was made by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Porter. All those in favor? Moving forward? No, we just open for discussion, sorry.
Yeah. I don't have any questions or concerns.
Chief?
Yeah, so this is an annual application that comes through. It's been through several years before. We have not had any issues related to that particular business that were brought to our attention. And so my recommendation, based on the issue statement, was to go ahead and move forward with approval to the board for consideration.
We're ready to vote on this motion? Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. The motion carries. And we're going to go to agenda item 8, fireworks paraphernalia license application, Anders Nelson, doing business as Fireworks Nation, discussion and possible action. Someone have the motion available to read the suggested motion?
That's the new one that was just attached, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one that just came in.
Hold, please.
Everyone jump to your
I'm
email.
just having a hard time here.
Move to approve the application for the fireworks paraphernalia license temporary use permit for Anderson Nelson, doing business as Firework Nation, with the following inclusions. No smoking signs must be displayed, fire extinguishers available, no fireworks sold to persons under 18 years of age, operation not to exceed 180 days per calendar year.
So motion's made by trustee Olson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Porter. Open for discussion. Chief?
Same comment. We have not had any issues with any problems with that particular location, and suggesting recommendation to the board for approval.
Last year, I recall same issue as this year, that the operation order, the hours of operation were not listed on the application. And I believe last year the public safety added those hours, or the suggested hours, from 9 to 9. Does that ring a bell with anyone?
I do believe there was an ordinance or something where they don't have, we are not limited to a time to stop selling, and that was through the village. I remember something about that.
And there's
But-
no hours listed on the application itself. There was on the request from the exit 1. There wasn't on this, and so that is definitely something, if the board, when it gets to the board, if that's some more information, I could reach out to the applicant and see, if they have, when I don't recall if it's on their door, if they have their hours listed, but we could definitely look at that as well.
Yeah, I think what I recall from last year was that typically it's 9 to 9, but around the 4th of July and around the first of the year, around New Year's, they have longer hours. But I think we should think about some sort of parameters around that.
There was something about when I went to the board last year that we didn't have any issues with those special occasions for that. But the normal time we were okay with. I do remember that.
Okay. Well, let's take a vote and move it to the board, and then I can do a little bit more research before the board meeting. And
Chief, if you want to reach out for the hours just
do
before it gets there, that would be cool.
that would be helpful.
Thank you. I'm looking up right now to see if they have it online too, for their hours listed.
And all those in favor then of the motion that's made, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carries. It'll go forward to the board. And the next item is pedestrian safety and traffic concerns from 7th Street North in the intersection with Riverside Drive. Request for additional signage, discussion only. Last meeting, we had some talk about data. I think I found like one accident in the past 20 years. There was a request for a reduction of the speed, and I think we had come to some conclusions that wasn't really going to make a difference. Then we moved to a warning sign, a possible warning sign, and a DOT study.
So the information to bring back to the committee, I reached out to our public works director to ask him who would in fact do such a traffic study, and he did reach out to the St. Croix County Streets Department, and they do have the equipment to do a traffic study, and they run $400 per study. So just to bring that back to the committee for information, that's what I was asked to return with.
So is the committee interested in moving, it's discussion only, we can't take action, but moving a request for a traffic study to the board for consideration in the budget, finance committee? I guess it would go to finance then, right, Chief?
It's definitely not budgeted for, so it would have to come from somebody's budget.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessary if we're pulling, you can see how many light stops and tickets and everything else that you go through there, and if there's nothing documented for that,
The traffic study?
yes.
Was there a possibility of putting up the warning sign, Chief, without having a traffic study about the steepness of the hill and slippery when wet? And
I didn't speak with the Public Works Director about that because I think we had talked about that would become a Public Works Committee discussion. So
Okay.
if that is something that this committee would like them to look at, I can definitely offer that up to the chair.
I think that
Yeah.
would be probably the best solution.
It's a good starting place.
Yeah.
Yes, Chief, could you do that?
I can take care of that.
Thank you. Any other discussion about this item? So we're going to move the request for additional signage we're going to remove request for additional signage to Public Works. We are not moving forward with the traffic study based on the data that we have at this time. So that means we'll close this item and we won't have it on the next agenda unless, Chief, do you think there's any further discussion needed?
I have no.
We'll move it to Public Works and close that.
Before you go forward, I just want to mention really quick, since I looked it up, the hours are listed online for Fireworks Nation. They close by 9 p.m. and 6 to 9. They have it all listed. Some days it's 5, some 6. The latest is 9. So I think we'll be fine if we get the hours from them too.
Sounds good. Okay. Next agenda item 10, amend ordinance chapter 10, section 1010, licensing, discussion only. So last meeting, Trustee Olson, we had your recommendations for modifying the ordinance. And before we get into those, I just want to say, we have an existing animal ordinance. It does have, it's online. Anyone can take a look at it to see what is currently being regulated in the village. And there is regulation regarding number of animals, what animals are allowed. There is existing ordinances in this area, and that the reason that we're proceeding with looking at modifying the animal ordinance is because if people have complaints about something and it isn't in the ordinance, then we have absolutely no ability to do anything about it. So people, if there's no ordinance against a particular thing and someone calls and complains, then law enforcement or the animal warden have no ability to do anything because there's no regulation prohibiting it. So we're trying to provide some parameters that are reasonable for an urban area. The village here qualifies as an urban area, so something that's reasonable for an urban area, but that respects the wishes of people in the community for what is reasonable. And as a board member, I have received another email, and I believe the other board members did as well, from someone with concerns about roosters and concerns about not having any regulations regarding fencing and other things. So we are hearing from the community on this issue. We're not hearing the same thing from everybody. We did hear a lot of things last week, and I want to be able to take some time to talk about one of them, which was regarding having warnings before citation. And that is going to be in the proposed animal ordinance that will go to the board for voting about discretion from the warden or from law enforcement before they would issue any citations, that they can ask the person to fix the problem and the person can then fix the problem without having a citation issued at the discretion, at their discretion. And there's some things that we aren't going to use discretion about that are dangerous. So, but the discretion for non-dangerous things is certainly there. So the person who spoke to that at the last meeting, we did hear that. I think the issues that we have remaining to discuss today, and then I'd like us to vote on this at the next meeting, post the draft and vote on it, would be regarding the limitation on the number of chickens. I would like the committee to move forward with limiting to 10 chickens and grandfathering in people that had more than 10 prior to the enactment of the ordinance, in respect for the comments that we heard at the last meeting for people that had more than 10 right now and wanted to be able to maintain that. I would like to move the ordinance forward without roosters or male chickens more than 4 months old, out of respect for the fact that that is a known nuisance, and that there's no reason to start out with a known nuisance. I'd also like to move it forward that we don't add geese or other domesticated fowl, peacocks, to the ordinance, that we leave it with chickens, because those are different types of animals, different types of fowl. They have different issues. They're different noise, different size. I would propose we stick to the chickens. We maintain the decision that we had for no goats with the exception of short-term eradication. And that's what I would like to see. And the other things that, that Trustee Olson had brought forward, single-family dwelling, and shelter, the shelter without specific size requirements, secure coop at night, fencing, and food, shelter, food, water, et cetera, necessary. And those have all been, we can add all those into the draft very simply. So for the committee today, I'd like us to discuss limiting, we can take these one by one, limiting chickens to 10, and with a grandfather for people that have more than 10 at the time that the ordinance is enacted.
Can you speak?
Can I ask a simple question? How will that be enforced?
So I'm going to say that ordinances are enforced through the law enforcement or the animal warden for the animals.
I understand, but I'm asking, I guess, more technically. How are you going to know how many chickens someone have?
We can talk about that after the meeting. So we're going to we can't answer questions during the meeting in order to maintain order. So this is a discussion amongst the board, and we certainly can talk about it after the meeting.
Okay, so I want to comment first we've done so much research. I started September 23, and this was already on the agendas to put ordinances on chickens in September of 23. And it came about that there were complaints, but they weren't documented because we don't have any chicken ordinances. So starting there, that's where the chickens came from.
Can I just emphasize what you just said?
Yes.
So we don't know how many complaints there were about chickens or roosters because there's nothing against chicken or roosters in the ordinance. So that data was not maintained by the village. We don't have that data.
And that was also said by the warden in 24 when he came to the meetings. So that being said, that's fine. Also, we are not a farming community. And if you look at the lot sizes, we are not a community that can house 25 chickens, fully grown chickens to raise. We do not have the lot size here. I do believe, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I had Gina pull all the lot sizes, and we have 2, if I'm not mistaken, with 2 lots in the village of North Hudson that are larger than 2 acres. So that, right, I mean, they're very small lot sizes. And I did a lot of research. I pulled a lot of the surrounding communities within Hudson, within Minnesota, for their ordinances. We are not Minnesota. I do understand that. And we are not going with what Hudson has. That was already proposed in the very beginning. We got rid of all of those restrictions on here as well, or I proposed that we got rid of all of those. So the amount of chickens that I had found, I was talking to numerous people, made many phone calls, did lots of research, and said that 10 should be a perfectly well maintainable number without being a nuisance, without, they eat a lot. They cause a lot of damage, right? They're not damage, but 10's a good number, I heard. So 12 is pushing the limit sizes. There are recommendations for the state of Wisconsin for the amount of chickens. There's no restrictions. We do not follow St. Croix's, which I did cause. You guys got that information. We do not have to follow the limitations that St. Croix County has, which I thought we did in the beginning as well. But I checked on that too. We do not. So 10 came up with a reasonable number. I think grandfathering people in before that have been in here before is a very nice thing to do, and I don't think there's any problem with that. I would fully agree with that.
I'm coming from it from a different point of view. This is Trustee Porter. One of the main principles that I ran on was that I would listen to people. I would listen to our constituents. And I've done that. And for every person that's come in and wagered a complaint on chickens, there's been 10 or more speaking on behalf of the chickens. I've lived in Hudson for 20 years, North Hudson for 20 years. And it's never been a problem. My neighbor behind me, I've had plenty of problems with dogs, and I'm a dog lover. I have my own dog. And listening to the gentleman, and also last month, that to make these blanket regulations where we take the rights away from people because of a few people complaining or because we don't want it to become a problem, me personally, I can't support that.
So
if there's a problem,
we need to keep order, please.
yeah, if there's a problem, we deal with the problem. And most people are pretty reasonable in this community. And then if they're not going to listen, they're not going to listen. Well, you have to take action. And if maybe by some chance everybody starts raising chickens and everybody's got 40 or 50 chickens and you can't drive down the street, we would never let it get to that. But I don't see the problem. I promised I would listen to people. I've listened to both sides, and it's overwhelmingly in support of chickens. And I feel compelled that I'm not even sure about the number 10.
So Trustee Porter, are you saying that you are not in agreement with having any number limit on the chickens?
I am.
Okay. All right.
And Barb did all the studies, but
She sure did.
But I've not seen any of the data other than just.
There is nothing. There's nothing to show. It's just it's just going by people who raise chickens or who I spoke with, and they recommended limiting it to 10.
And the lot size.
Were those all North Hudson residents?
No North Hudson residents. I know where we stand here in North Hudson. We want all of our chickens. We don't want to restrict any of them. So I was just talking to surrounding communities and people that I knew that had chickens. So
can we come up with a number that we could agree would be reasonable if it's not 10? I do feel in order to have anything that's meaningful in the ordinance, we have to have something that is fair. And if people don't know what they can do, then it's not fair. If we don't have something clear for people, it's not fair.
Yeah, I would.
So
people who've gotten up and spoken. Excuse me, Mary. I would entertain listening to what people in our North Hudson community say about the people that are raising chickens, see where they fall. Because I don't know. I don't stop and count, but the houses that I've driven by that had chickens, I never saw like 20 chickens. I've not seen anything that big.
I would like to add also, how long I've lived here, I've never seen a chicken problem. I've never heard a chicken. I've not seen anything.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that they're not an issue for some residents. It's definitely been brought up. There's been complaints both ways, but I will agree. I haven't seen anything that there's a big issue for the chickens. And I mentioned it at one of the other meetings. Let's just get rid of all the chicken stuff. And we can add the sanitation. We can cover it by just simply stating sanitation would cover it. Or the noise. Other animals, if you add specific wording, you can cover all the issues that we have had or we've had complaints about by adding specific wording, sanitation issues by animals, or you can add noise due to noise restrictions because of animal noises. You can change the wording and add those, and it would cover all the animals, not just chickens, but dogs, anything.
And Barb, I believe that's a better approach. You can never cover everything, like list every single animal. You can't list everything. It's better to have it general, that can be viewed through a filter of common sense. It's like, this is a problem, and deal with it.
So are you both suggesting that there's no size limit, no number limit on the chickens? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think at this time I would go with that.
Okay. All right. Next thing, roosters.
I think if we add the noise complaint down there, it would cover roosters as well for right now.
I agree with that. I have respect for people. If I had a rooster in my bedroom window crowing all day,
I would call.
Right. We live together. We have to be respectful to each other, but we also have to have some degree of tolerance.
Well, I have to say, if my neighbor had roosters, that would make me extremely unhappy, and I wouldn't feel like that should be my problem. I feel like that's a reasonable thing for the village to say, is that there should not be roosters. Yes, we have a noise ordinance, but we're setting it up to be failed if we allow something that's known entity that makes noise, especially early in the morning.
I got a neighbor that makes a lot of noise early in the morning, and I can't get rid of him.
You can also control windows.
Sir.
Yeah.
So you're proposing that we remove the restriction on roosters?
And add verbiage in there for noise concerns.
That's already been added. That's already been added.
Yep. I think that would cover it.
Okay. All right. So shelter. Having a coop and a fence for chickens.
So when the residents spoke here today, they said they have pens. Is that the same? I would consider that the same as a fenced-in yard if they're not free range.
I believe the language that we have is for a secure space, so that would certainly qualify. There has to be a fence, folks. We have to have some sort of secure.
And Mary, when you say a fence, you're talking, it could be.
Some
it doesn't have
secure
to be that wooden
area.
fence that goes around the whole. It's going to be a pin that they can be in and not roam the neighborhood.
A secure area.
If we got rid of fenced yard, but it says there are no free range chickens, I am cool with that.
Yeah, me too.
But as long as they're secured, I'm okay with that. Just no free range chickens, but they need to be in some secured, in a single dwelling residence, but they need to be secured at some manner of securing them in the yards.
Okay, next. Goats. I would propose that we leave the restriction that we have in the draft for no goats, with the exception of short-term for eradication of weeds. This is an urban area. If people want to have farm animals, they need to be on a farm.
Yeah, so do we have goats? I mean,
we have had goats.
Yeah.
We have had goats.
Okay. I've not heard anybody talk either way about goats.
People have testified here that
they've been bothered by goats. I mean,
again, we have to let people know what to expect. If you move into the village, can you expect to bring your goats?
I don't know about goats. I don't know anything about goats.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an odd thing to drive down the street and just see a bunch of goats stand out in everybody's yard. It would be an odd thing, and I wouldn't want just goats wandering around. So, Mary, you're talking about having this forbidding
correct
ownership of goats.
Correct.
Bringing them in if you need
livestock, including goats.
Yeah, I don't know that I see a problem with that.
Prohibiting it or having them?
Prohibiting them.
Barb?
I could get down with I don't know, if you're doing like goat milk and stuff, You're doing goat milk. Now you're making goat milk and you've got 2 goats? Is there something that we could restrict to, you could have 1 or 2 goats and have a license for a goat like you do a dog? That's a bigger animal than a chicken.
I don't want to revisit licensing anything. I would suggest that for this version of that, in order to end this very long process,
I agree.
that we prohibit goats and livestock. And if another committee another chair wants to take that up in the future, that would be fine, but I certainly don't. So are we in agreement with that?
On prohibiting goats.
Correct.
And livestock.
Correct. Again, this is an urban area. If you look at the number of people and the number of square miles, we qualify as an urban area. We're not a suburban area even. We are an urban area.
Yeah, I can get on with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Then I think we are done with that discussion. I will update the draft and we'll post it for the next meeting and we'll take a vote at the next meeting.
Alrighty.
So that'll go on for the agenda in April for discussion and a vote. Okay, police department staffing and coverage discussion only. Chief?
Just, I guess, an update from the last time I mentioned that we have a new officer that's in training. He has been with me the last 3 days, and so we're still hoping that by mid-June he will be have certified for solo patrol and will be out on his own. So things are going well there.
Yep, and he's enjoying it?
He would say that to me, yes.
Yes, good.
I think he's finding it challenging. We had some conversation today about how to find different block numbers, and it's challenging when you're brand new to not ever having to think about what block is where in the village, and so yeah, it's always a process. But he's definitely on par for where we've seen other probationary officers come.
And all the situations they'll find themselves in.
Right.
That's a lot.
Chief, there was a question at the comprehensive plan meeting this week about, in the old plan, it said that you didn't, or whoever was the chief and reporting at that time did not feel that we had adequate FTEs. Are you satisfied with the staffing level that we have when we're fully staffed, and would that be appropriate to?
I think that would have been 20 years ago, so literally
Right.
probably 1 year
Was.
before I was promoted to chief. I think currently our staffing levels are good. I think the issue that we had back then, and that would have been in what, 2000?
5, 4, 5.
Yeah, and I was promoted in October of 2005. At the time, we had 6 officers, and so that particular chief was actually saying that we were short having 6. We currently have 5. At the time, we did have a patrol-level detective position that could flip-flop if we had a high level of investigations. That person could be conducting investigations, and when we were lower on that case volume, would be conducting patrol activities. And so to that point, I think if we were back to 6, I was actually the patrol level detective at the time, and I was promoted. I think that would benefit the village considerably to be able to have someone that could be solely focused on investigations, because right now it's basically myself and one of the officers who we've sent to some specialized training for things like internet crimes against children, child crimes, dare and drug activities, those types of things. But so for the point of the plan, it would be nice to have that 6th officer to be able to conduct a more rounded, that also provided closer to 24-hour coverage. The village has never mandated that we have 24-hour coverage, but it was much closer to that, which is obviously beneficial for us to be able to respond to emergencies in the village.
Thank you. Anything else on staffing or coverage?
Not for me.
I think we're going to go to item 12, Police Department capital and equipment planning discussion only.
Nothing new to report. The sergeant is still doing some research on what it would cost to replace the rifles that, like I said, are about 12 years old now. And so as we get closer to the budgetary time, or once I get that information back, he's knee-deep in training the new officer right now, so he's got some other priorities that he's got moving forward.
And if I can bring up, also at the comprehensive plan meeting, there was, in the previous comprehensive plan, information about additional space needs for the department for various items. I can't even remember what they all were. There was a whole bunch of things listed that were needed, which probably didn't really belong in a comprehensive plan. But if there's anything that you think that should be included in that related to equipment or capital planning.
So again, if that was in a 2005, that was prior to our expansion up to the upstairs in 2008. And so currently our space, our needs for space are just fine. I don't have any continued need for expansion.
Very good. Thank you so much. Anything else from anyone on this topic?
Nope.
Okay, we're in future agenda items. So for the next meeting, we'll have the vote for the animal ordinance, updated animal ordinance, and a vote. And other than that, are there other new agenda items that we need?
I don't have anything, no.
I don't either. I'm not thinking of anything.
Okie dokie. So I'm going to call the public safety meeting closed at 6:19 p.m. on Thursday, March 13th. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mary.